Thank you for watching this video. Before we get started, I'd just like to shout out my channel on the side, Cable Classics. This is me and a group of some of my best friends watching movies late at night, and then I edit them together into short little highlight reels of the funniest and most entertaining parts, or some insight. So check it out. We've done Deep Blue Sea, Roadhouse, Fear, The Howling, Excalibur, and Sylvester Stallone's Over the Top, and there's plenty more to come. I'd really like this channel to reach a certain sub count and start to get a continued fan base, so if you can support it in any way, I'd really appreciate it, and please check out its Reddit page. Thank you. Hey guys, welcome to Box Office Addict. Let's just jump into this week, shall we? Okay, Argyle, Argylle, Argylle, Alligator, I don't know what the hell. I heard about this movie. This is a Matthew Vaughn movie that apparently cost $200 million from Apple, and it opened at $18 million, $35 million worldwide. I believe Henry Cavill is in this film, and he's also got that Guy Ritchie film that he's in that's about to come out. So this is the return of Matthew Vaughn after his Kingsman movies declined at the box office, to where the first film did really well, the second film did well too, and then The King's Man, the third film in the series, was an outright bomb. And this film got really bad reviews. Argyle, it has 35% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is not looking good for Matthew Vaughn's career right now. And the big story here is this is another disaster for Apple, where they released Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon, three movies now that all cost $200 million to produce, and none of them are making bank at the box office or enough money to really cover the costs, which makes you wonder why Apple spent this much money on every project. Like, isn't it conceivable that Killers of the Flower Moon could have been made for $90 million, $100? This movie, why couldn't this movie cost like $120 million? Why wasn't Napoleon like, I don't know, 130, 140? They overspent on every single damn movie. And this is a bomb. There's no way around it. That is not a good opening weekend. 18 million in 3,600 theaters. The average is right under 5,000. Not looking good for this universal distribution and for Apple Studios. And the problem is too, none of their films outside of Killers of the Flower Moon really got like critical acclaim or any kind of Oscar push. So all of these projects just sort of felt like a waste of time. Number two at the box office was The Chosen, season 4, episodes 1 through 3, which did $6 million at the box office. This is really interesting how well this does. I'm assuming it's church groups going to see the movies, but it makes you wonder why they don't release more TV shows in theaters. I know they've done it before with Game of Thrones, but you think the biggest TV show's on, they'd be like, hey, come watch the last 2 episodes in a movie theater, and just ways to try to make extra money. Theaters definitely need the help right now. The Beekeeper is at 122 million worldwide. Honestly, Jason Statham, as far as a box office person goes, I mean, like as a movie star, internationally, he just kind of always delivers. He rarely has a movie that doesn't break 100 million worldwide. And he's just a reliable action star, leading man, supporting character, and stuff like The Fast and the Furious. He's kind of slept on. Even the Meg franchise, which he is the face of, is done very well. So kudos to Jason Statham. Wonka. I really want to talk about Wonka since I haven't done a video here in a while in the box office. What a performance by Paul King, the director here, and Chalamet and everybody involved. David Heyman producing, Warner Brothers. I did see this movie a few weeks ago. I mostly liked it. It's kind of a 6.5 out of 10 for me. I didn't think it was great. I thought Timothy was okay, as Willy Wonka was not blown away. And it definitely was like a lesser version of the Paddington movies. It even had a structure similar to the Paddington movies where it becomes like a heist film at the end. But I really am a big fan of Paul King as a director. I liked some of the songs in the movie. I thought they were catchy. Wonderful acting from the supporting characters. There were really beautiful sets and scenes and locations, but I felt like the movie never really opened up. It felt a little bit too, I don't know what, insulated. It felt a little too close together for my liking, and I thought it had slightly sloppy editing and kind of narrative structure. But for the most part, like it was an okay movie. I honestly was surprised how much I liked it because I really wasn't on board with Chalamet playing Wonka. Um, but this opens up a lot of questions when you think about how well Barbie did, and it had those Wes Anderson like scenes where they go back between Barbie Land and the real world. And you look at this movie, and it's also very Wes Anderson-y. I'd say Paul King definitely is comparable to Wes Anderson, and they're both really big hits. So it makes me wonder if Wes Anderson could have just jumped into commercial filmmaking and he could have been making like $500 million, $1 billion movies if he had done any IP franchises. So it's just really curious. I'm happy that Wes Anderson hasn't done that, but even this being an adaptation of a Dahl's work, and he's recently done Henry Sugar, and then previously he had done Fantastic Mr. Fox. This would have been a cool Wes Anderson movie instead of Asteroid City. I'm just throwing that out there. But really happy for Paul King because I think this movie overperformed. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from the 70s was not a big hit upon release. I don't think it even made its money back. And then, of course, in television, it became one of the most popular seen movies of all time. Now, the Tim Burton remake or slash readaptation of the book, that did really well. It made 475 million in 2005. So adjusted for inflation, that movie made more money than this. It probably made over $700 million. So it just shows that the Wonka IP is very strong. Every Willy Wonka movie that's been released, at least in the 2000s, has been a successful movie. So we have a 201 million domestic take and 571 million worldwide. The best thing about this, the budget was only $125 million. They didn't overspend on this movie. Very similar to Barbie. Barbie's budget was like 145. So they're going to get a nice profit off this. It could reach 600 million. I think it's going to fall slightly below that, but still, I mean, the fact it made over 500 million. This is really big for Chalamet, though, who's never been in like a major hit. Like Dune's his biggest movie. I mean, he's in Interstellar for like 5 minutes. But now with Dune Part 2 coming out, if that film can also perform and make 600, 700 million, he'll have two back to back very successful movies, which would makes him, solidified as an A-lister. He's an A-lister in terms of fame and exposure, but his name recognition hasn't really resulted in too much box office. And obviously, this is a Willy Wonka movie. I don't know if it's necessarily a Chalamet movie, but still, kudos to Warner Brothers and everyone involved. Big hit. I'm very surprised by how well the movie did. American Fiction is at $15 million, one of the films that's nominated for Best Picture. And then you have Anyone But You, which turned into like a little hit. It opened to $6 million, and everybody was writing this movie off, despite Glenn Powell and Cindy Sweeney. Everybody loves them. They're the most attractive people right now. But now the movie's ended up making 151 million worldwide. I think the budget was 35 million. This is the most successful rom-com like this in a long time. Poor Things by Yorgos Lanthimos is at 28 million, 40 million internationally, 68 million worldwide. The film is doing pretty well. The Favorite, his previous film, I think grossed 95 million at the box office. This film, I think its budget's around 35, 40 million. So if this can make over 100 million to 120, if not more, I would say it's successful. Hopefully its domestic numbers pick up. I feel weird about the release of this movie. I don't know why they didn't go on a wider release a few months ago. It feels like they've been dragging the release of this movie out for so long that some of the interest dropped, but it's doing okay. It's not a bomb by any means. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is at 423 million worldwide. I don't believe it's broke even yet, but it isn't the disaster I think maybe it looked like it was going to be. The Boys in the Boat, directed by George Clooney, is at 51 million worldwide. I don't know why this movie exists, but it does for some reason. The Boy and the Heron, I always want to say The Boy and the Heroine, um, is at 165 million worldwide, 44 mil domestic. Hayao Miyazaki's highest grossing film in the United States. And then, of course, we have Oppenheimer, which is at 956 million worldwide. I don't think there's too much else to talk about here. Nothing's really standing out. The Holdovers, another film that I think had a botched release. I think there was money left on the table here with this movie. Why wasn't this released during Christmas? Why did they drop it on Peacock so early? I have no idea what they were thinking with the holdovers. Big mistake. And then, of course, we have Disney in here with the disaster, which is Wish. I bet they wished for more money from this piece of shit. But looking at the box office here, Mean Girls, that's one I wanted to cover. That ended up doing fairly well. It's not a huge hit. It's at 92 million worldwide. I think the budget was around 35, maybe a little bit more. But having Tina Fey back, Tim Meadows, it definitely helped this movie in its opening weekend. But it obviously did not have great word of mouth. It's declined fairly steeply as it's gone on, but it still has some life in it. It should end up at 75, 80 million, which oddly enough, I think Mean Girls back in 2004 made like 83 million on its original release. So that just shows you where we're at. And then, of course, Migration, which is at 221 million worldwide. You just can't count out Illumination movies. So looking at everything here, yeah, it doesn't look too bad, right? But then you took so many movies here like Book of Clarence, All of Us Strangers, Origin, Iron Claw, which did not do great, just did okay, got shut out at the Oscars. And you'll just see here a lot of movies aren't doing that well. Like pretty much all of the top films here outside of Wonka and Mean Girls, Anyone But You, none of these are really blowing up the box office. 2024 is not looking great so far, and hopefully there's some kind of bounce back as the year goes on, but I'm really worried about the box office this year, and I'm really worried about um, what the news is going to be and what we're going to talk about because outside of like two or three movies, I can't think of anything coming out that's going to be a big hit. I feel like this is just a really, really bad theater year. And obviously the strikes didn't help anything, but this is not looking great right now. But the main thing here, Apple, what the hell? Quit making $200 million movies like this. Just stop. Like I'm all for giving these directors projects and giving them control. I'm okay with that. But with these streaming services, they always spend so much goddamn money producing their movies. Is it just a scam? Is it laundering? Is it a tax write-off?